There are some people in the silver stacking community who say that silver is silver, and an ounce of silver only has value because it is, well, an ounce of silver. The silver has intrinsic value, and the shape of the silver is irrelevant, as well as the design on the ounce of silver. This adds no value whatsoever. Is there any truth to this? And if not, could this be the case in the future? Let's get into it. Buy your gold and silver online from SD Bullion. New customers get gold or silver at spot by visiting sdbullion.com/new. Thank you so much for watching. I do sincerely appreciate it. I want to dive into this idea of silver being silver. Now, it kind of sounds silly. I mean, obviously silver is silver, right? As long as we're talking about real silver. But what this concept is getting at is the fact that premiums are kind of ridiculous when it comes to purchasing an ounce of silver. Why should some ounces of silver cost more than others? Now, obviously, there are special designs and limited mintages, different finishes, different shapes of an ounce of silver. You could get a bar or a coin or a round, which looks like a coin. It's just not made by a government. There are so many different types of ounces of silver, and it can be hard to choose which one is the best. But why wouldn't you just choose the one with the lowest premium, the ounce of silver which costs the least? Because if silver is silver and the premiums should all be the same, then you should always be stacking the cheapest silver you can find. But obviously, not all ounces of silver cost the same. For example, American silver eagles typically cost more than other silver coins. You could look at a silver maple leaf or a silver Philharmonic. These coins will typically cost less than the American silver eagles, although they each have 1 ounce of silver in them. The only thing different about the American silver eagles is that they are made by the United States of America. But what about silver rounds or silver bars? These are considered generic silver. They're not made by a government, and they will typically cost less than most silver coins out there. For example, the Canadian silver maple leaf is usually going to be more expensive than a silver round. So when it comes to silver stacking, if all of these ounces of silver ultimately have the same value, then you should not be paying more for any one of them for any reason whatsoever. You should always buy the cheapest silver ounce. So if the silver rounds are the cheapest, you should exclusively be stacking them forever and never buy a silver coin. But we know that premiums on these different silver items change over time. And there was a period of time just a few years ago where the premiums on the American silver eagles were much higher than any of the other silver coins out there, excluding the low mintage collectible coins. We'll get to those in a moment. But if you could go back in time and exclusively stack American silver eagles, which yes, they did have a higher premium than the silver maples and the silver rounds, but if you could have only stacked these and then sold them when the premiums were extremely high, you would have actually done a lot better than if you had stacked the generic silver ounces, because the premiums change over time. But that's because of the system that we are in right now. If the system changes in the future, it's possible that at some point an ounce of silver will just be worth an ounce of silver. The only thing giving it value will be the fact that it is silver, not the fact that it has a certain design on it. All premiums will be thrown out together. Is this going to happen? I think it certainly is possible that if we go into a SHTF, some sort of a crisis, if the governments around the world fall apart and people are bartering with silver and gold, then sure, probably an ounce of silver will just be worth an ounce of silver, but I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. Now, there are some extremely high premium silver items out there. We'll call these collectibles that people like to buy from time to time, and they can cost anywhere from 2 to 10 times as much as a silver round. These extremely high premium silver items can be very fun to collect. I've bought many of them over the years, but am I just throwing my money away? Let's say I pay 3 times as much for one of these silver collectibles as opposed to just buying a silver round, just buying another ounce of silver, which is generic and made by the millions. What is the problem with this? Well, if we get to the point where we are all just bartering with silver, and this is worth the same as a silver round, then sure, I could have bought 3 silver rounds for the same price, not bought these collectibles, and that probably would have been a better idea. However, if the system we're in now continues to move along and these still retain their high premiums, I might be able to recoup them down the road. So is it the worst purchase? No, I mean, at least I still am buying silver. It's not like this is a piece of cardboard, right? Lots of people spend a lot of money on small pieces of collectible cardboard. It's also not a piece of plastic. This is a precious metal which has intrinsic value, and it still is worth at least an ounce of silver. And at the end of the day, it's certainly possible to get bored just buying generic pieces of silver week after week, month after month. You could get burnt out on this silver stacking lifestyle and stop altogether. So if you could buy a few of these collectibles to reignite that spark in your stacking attitude, then this could actually help you stack more silver in the long run. You could end up with way more ounces of silver if you're having fun with the hobby, if you're enjoying it. But I will say most people actually don't recoup all of the premiums on these high-priced collectible pieces of silver. So unless you're used to dealing in collectibles, you have an eBay store and a group of buyers for these, you're probably not going to be making money on these overpriced collectibles. But again, if it could keep you interested in silver stacking, maybe they actually are worth it in the long run. But if you had the discipline to just buy the cheapest generic silver ounces, you're probably going to be the best off. So we all have different strategies. We all have different things we do to keep us motivated and interested in silver. So I don't want to bash anyone else's strategy. I've bought lots of generics. I've bought lots of coins. I've also bought lots of collectibles over the years. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I wanted to put this video out there talking about silver being silver. I think that it is possible that in my lifetime there would be a point where every ounce of silver has the same value. That is certainly not the case right now, but I think it could happen if we go into an SHTF situation. I'm not hoping for that to happen, but I think that there is a small chance that it could happen in my lifetime. I'm aware of that, but right now, the way that things are, silver is worth silver, and it's also worth the premium that people assign to it. Some ounces of silver are just worth more than other ounces of silver, and that's the way it is. What do you think about this idea? Do you think every ounce of silver should be worth the same amount? And do you think we will actually see that in the next few years, few decades? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next one. Silver Dragons out.